Let's go downtown. How many times have your buds said that exact thing, sorting out what to do after a long day of work at the office? A couple hours later, you've spent some time playing cards at the pub on Main Street, so you hop on the local transit and head home, ready to do it all again tomorrow. In today's episode, we're going to create that experience in our little college town, following the story of my adult life after I finished school and then ultimately left the trades behind. This is how we last left off ToadieZzz. You've just seen me do a bit of beautification. Now let's build the rest of it together, shall we? Some housekeeping from the previous episode. I mentioned that I'm not an interchange guy, and I didn't realize that if you are traveling on this 4-lane road, you can't turn left really to get onto the highway anywhere if you're going this way or if you're going this way. So now that that's fixed, it has become much more functional, with people being able to come down this road and turn onto the highway there. While they did give us a no straight ahead option with this latest update, it still does not really do what we want it to do here. What of course I would love is these to be able to work per lane so that I could take the right turns off of this middle lane, the left turn off of that middle lane. Alas, I cannot do it, but you know what I can do? I can take this lighting tool and use it for the entirety of this main highway line, and it's actually going to serve two purposes. The first, I'm sure you'll understand, is that it will help prevent accidents along where these lights are lit, and I especially think that's important when I have built this highway like 17 billion feet in the air. But it also lets me show you a different feature of putting the lights on that you can actually see in the tooltip. Also adds low voltage electricity transfer capacity to the road. So if I show you our electricity view now, you can see that these lights carry electricity through them, at least the low voltage. So if we wanted, we could purchase all the tiles for this whole highway and grab the low voltage from our roads over here, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, we are going to purchase these tiles as well as this tile up here and this tile down here. You're going to find out more about those in just a second, but first, let's grab these tiles so that we can bring our electricity and our water over here. We have got electricity and water connected through this main road that comes back to our college. We may already know that with these roads that have the divider in the middle, you can put the grass and the trees either on the middle or you can choose it on the sides, whichever you prefer. So in here, I'm going to put the grass, but then I didn't realize, and this is just old habits from City Skylines 2, you can also update the middle of the bridge type of these roads as well. And then one final trick, you can put both grass and trees on. Remember those random tiles I bought up here and down here? Well, I forgot one. I am also going to grab this tile here. And let me finally show you what's going on. We are going to create one more river that comes down from here kind of as an access point. I'm gonna do this for now. And I bought this tile so that I would be able to delete these highways and draw them back in with kind of the same feeling happening down here. The one part that will be a shame about this is I cannot delete trees that are outside of the tiles that we have purchased, but we will correct that in the future when we can unlock all of these tiles. But you know what would look really great along a riverbed like this? A goldenrod, maybe with a little golf fly duber on it, which thanks to community member Seta, I now know is the little stick, the hail bubble on a stick that I was describing last episode. A note about the landscaping I'm doing here, the game updated after I had already done this to no longer allow landscaping outside of the tiles that you own. This does bum me out a bit because I really loved how we would be able to make any map into our own from the beginning, but hey, we can't win them all. I'll just have to hope there's a map editor and take this as my push to learn to make maps proper. That was a lot of landscaping, and this water still has quite a ways to travel. But before we do the final touches on the river's landscaping and make use of this area that it's created here, I want to show you what happens when we turn the GUI back on. It's not great. We've got some really high rent and people are very upset about it. Now, but down here at the bottom right, we can see what will make people happier. And right now, the number one thing is high crime. So let's finally give these people a service building. I think this area right here looks pretty good for a police station. And because when we click on it, immediately. All 6 of them are going out at once. So I'm going to give it a garage extension right away so that we can have some more vehicles patrolling. Now, we are probably going to start losing quite a bit of money here. The other thing that I think people will enjoy is if we start giving them some parks. Now, I heard a rumor that around the city skylines to Hood, people really enjoy these dog parks. So let's put one right there. Let's line it with some trees that hopefully one day will grow and be pretty. And let's get another small park happening up here. This small playground is just itty bitty, isn't it? A little while later, you see that we have much less high rent problem, but we are losing money. It's time to develop our city a bit more. As far as kind of the toady life goes, after I left the trades, there was one job I did first before moving into any sort of office job. Now I'm going to have to show you that at a later date. Since then, I have worked 2 office jobs for a very long time each, and both of them were kind of like nestled into the industrial sector that was in my little town. So putting these offices here works for me. Let's let them grow in and come over this way to where I previously had done a little bit of medium density housing and put in some low rent housing. Now watch how quickly this bar is going to go down. As soon as we zone one in, it's going to scooch right down. I think I probably have enough for one more building. Oh, it looks like I don't. That's how you'll be able to tell, is you'll be able to zone it in, and if it doesn't immediately start growing, then you don't have the demand for it. As I'm tinkering with landscaping to get this river looking all right, take a quick peek. We have contour lines. Some of you are going to be very happy about that. And the game has been updated during my recording period to include these contour lines in other menus. Anytime you see this button down here, it will show you the contour lines so you can toggle them on and off while you're placing roads and even when you're placing buildings. I don't have an opinion on this one way or another, but just to be clear, the contour option is not available through the zoning menus. Gang, this next milestone will give us more map tiles and mixed housing, and we need both for today's main project. To help move us towards that milestone, we are going to make use of the new specialty industry mechanic introduced in the sequel. Looking at the natural resources info view, we see this patch of farmland as well as some forestry available over here. This road will eventually continue beyond these borders. And then there are a few ways that you can place down these buildings. You'll find what works best for you. Now, the livestock industry and the stone mining industry don't require any ground resources, so don't use up valuable resource in the ground space for them. To show you the difference, looking at livestock farming, when you're going to place it, you just see like the 2 horizontal info dubers, but then when you go to place grain farming, it says resource available. Whereas if I were to move it back here, it says resource not available. So I'm going to place the 1 dirt road first and then a wee road to the side here, and let's place 1 farm up there. Let's place 1 other farm down here, and then this last one will go in there. And this is the part where you're going to find whatever works best for you. Sometimes I've found that placing these nodes immediately when you place the building is best. Sometimes I found going in and using this area tool after you've already placed it down feels better. You will end up finding your own groove with these. Double checking the info views, this is also a groundwater spot, so I am going to place 1 more dirt road right here and do 1 last grain farm along it. Now I'm placing a lot of these grain farms, but there are quite a few ingredients like down the production chain that require grain. I'm also keeping those farms pretty small, so let's get a couple more in here. Looking at these sheep, I'm reminded of the time that a regular from the pool hall, you'll see it soon, called me just an hour after he had baby goats on his farm and invited me to come help feed them. I didn't have time to change, so I showed up at this farm pretty damn dolled up, but absolutely did not care about my clothes getting totally wrecked as I got to bottle feed newborn goats. I am naming this sheep George after the gentleman who let me come to his farm to feed his baby goats. Thank you, George. Something to remember when adjusting the area of these specialty districts, there's kind of like 2 different versions of this overlapping items. Warning, I guess we'll call it. When the line like around the offending item or whatever is yellow, you can still place it. But of course, if it's red, you can't place it. Our offices have zoned in. We still have plenty of demand and need to fill this area out a bit. So while we do, At one of the office jobs, I was part of a project that involved bringing in groups of new hires and training them to do the customer services we already provided, but for a new to us Spanish-speaking customer base. We hired people with Spanish as a first language for this, and while everyone also spoke English just fine, I decided to immerse myself and learn Spanish to be best able to translate all my English knowledge of the job into how it fits best with Spanish speakers providing service to Spanish speakers. So, to any Spanish-speaking viewers out there, hola, yo ve ustedes, o te veo, no sé, por supuesto, te aprecio. Espero hablar mejor español para tener mi voz en español en videos también, posiblemente en algunos años. Entonces, gracias por su paciencia. As our river is coming along nicely and soon to be able to address this, we are very close to the next milestone where we can finally start the actual main part of this build. But first, I'm going to emulate what was called the avenues in my hometown. And they were just some compact little alley streets between basically the downtown and the rest of the city. So I'm drawing the roads that the houses will be on first as a reminder, because the zoning tiles will stick to the roads that you have drawn first. But I don't really want these roads to actually hit that main road that's coming into the town. So now I'm going to take this proper 2-lane road and draw it along here, delete these little nubbins in between, and finish it off coming along the back here. Of course, we need more than one place to come in and out of this little area, so I'm going to use this 2-lane one-way road to come in this side and give them an exit here. And let's not forget, with paths, we can either choose to create crosswalks in places where it might make sense to help these kids get to and from school, or we could draw paths where there are already crosswalks. And to give us a little bit of variety, I am going to zone in the EU style low density housing in these places. Now, I did actually live in the avenues for a little while, and a lot of them they weren't actually paths, they were more like gravel roads down the back of them. They felt very alley-like, but you could drive your car back there, and people had sheds, or if you were super fancy, you had a garage that faced the back. And so I am going to emulate that in this area, similar to how I've done over here. And these ones are quite long, but it does look like the citizens are using them. Look at them just waddling along. And did you know there are EU and NA versions of these signature buildings as well? So we just unlocked the EU version of the Pop Musician Mansion because we zoned all of this EU zoning. The differences between the low density EU housing and the low density NA housing. Gang, we need one more XP. Tiny town. Gang, I just found this. If you go to the hail bubble on a stick, its only upgrade is a viewing deck, a platform on top of the tower that allows for sightseeing and thus provides the tower with entertainment value. That is incredible. I am so excited about that. Have you heard people say there's no traffic in this game? Okay, gang, it is almost downtown time, but first, let me show you what the plan is here because I know it looks a bit goofy. I have been trying to get good, as the kids say, with the cut and fill roads, and this is an area where they are going to be really useful. I'm finding it valuable to have sharper edges of the landscaping done first, rather than maybe a nice smooth edge that you might normally want there with landscaping. So I am just drawing the road from further back. Looks much better. Now we fix the landscaping, and I've just learned that doing the landscaping actually affects those walls as you do it. That's pretty incredible news. So I'm going to keep that completely at the same level. It's a bit difficult to find a memory to share with you lot from my many wanderings downtown. Everything is a bit blurry, but the years passed with some core moments. From doing karaoke 3 nights a week, knowing which pubs held the best host which nights, to going to see a bagpipe rock band at the main hall, astounded to see such a show in our dinky little Ontario town, to having Christmas Eve dinner with some friends at our favorite pub and the staff refusing us a bill because it was Christmas and we were regulars, to waiting with my spouse at the bar of that same favorite hub while our real estate agent finalized the paperwork on the purchase of our first home. I don't go back there often, but when I do, it's a peaceful walk down the main drag to soak in some of those those formative memories. Even though most of the shops and pubs have changed, the poutineery hasn't, and that's always worth the trip itself. Boomtown! I have made use of the grid tool when you're laying it down roads and put it through here, and I zoned this just with the EU low density zoning, and you know what? I think I prefer it to the NA style. Before we really get our downtown rocking, I want to put in some signature buildings and some services now that we are in the green with money. So I'm going to put in, this is the dairy house, and you unlock it, I think, by just zoning so much industry or something. I don't actually remember. And I'm going to place it right here because it will give plus 2% industrial industry citywide and plus 2% export profits citywide. I also think some wind turbines make sense in this farming area, and we can just connect them underground with these low voltage cables. And to keep you guys in the loop, we have all 4 types of farming here. So we have grain, we have vegetables, we have livestock, and we have cotton. We also have this film actor mansion, which gives a +4 well-being within 1 kilometer. I am going to scoot it over here because I kind of like the idea of a film actor or whatever living far from the plebs, if you will. We only have so much time in this episode, so I am going to spend some development points, and we are going to get going on this downtown. Now, my hometown didn't have much in the way of public transit, but they did have buses, so I'm going to put a bus depot right there, and the bus station is going to go here with the overground parking building just across the street from it. We also have the welfare office to put down and the city hall. It's bus route time, and I'm going to show you the difference between the North America and the EU bus shelters is basically the roof. I prefer the EU style, so I'm going to use it. And the difference between the North America bus stop sign and the EU bus stop sign, again, is basically the shape, but I like the North American one better, so I'm going to use it. One tip for you while you're placing these bus stops, this is an alley, and it's a thin road, right? And the one-way, like, bus lane road is the same. It's thin. You cannot place the actual shelters on the side of these. It's too big, but you can place the bus stop signs on the side of these. Also, if you go to place a shelter and you don't notice the road doing this, where it gives the bus a lane to stop in, it's likely because you have either the wide sidewalk or one of these decorations, and you can just right click with what you have there to remove it, and then the bus can actually go stop in that lane. And for now, I'm going to create just 3 bus lines, and they are all going to be centered around our education. So this line here is going to grab people from downtown and from this little area here and stop them by this high school. At least I thought about wrapping around into the elementary school, but decided against it. This next line is going to also be centered around school, but it is going to come right up to the high school, to the elementary school, and through some more neighborhoods back downtown. And finally, we are going to have one follow this same path out this way. However, it's going to come up here and go all the way through to the college and back. This bus depot holds 25 vehicles in it, so I'm hoping we're going to be okay with just those 3 lines, but we will monitor them here as well to make sure they are all good. Gang, I don't want to alarm you, but winter is coming. You know what us Canadians do in winter? We ignore all of our problems, such as high rent and not enough customers. Those will be solved in time, but for now, I am going to make use of this space here by these tiles, and continuing with the theme of basing this off of my hometown. Not only did we have a college, but we also had a university. Now, in order to unlock this technical university, I have to unlock the regular university. And looking at the differences between them for you, the regular university has 2,000 student capacity and upkeep is 200,000 per month. The technical university has a lower student capacity, lower upkeep, but also provides a bonus to industrial efficiency and office efficiency. And I think that says city-wide, which is pretty fantastic. So we are going to put it up here. Whoa. I am really starting to get the hang of using these cut and fill roads for retaining walls. Basically, I put half of the land where the road is going to over top of at the height that I want the top of the retaining wall to be, half of it at the height that I want the bottom of the retaining wall to be, and then I draw the road over that, kind of overlapping the two heights of land, and it generally seems to work. The other useful piece that's up here is the ore resource in the ground, and if we look into our production, we can see that we have a deficit, of course, of both. We do currently need more coal than ore. So I am going to put the coal on the inside here with the larger surface area available and the ore out this way. Finally, on this hill, we are going to help our dump out because it is getting quite full and it's struggling to process everything. So we're going to take the recycling center and place it over here, adjust a few things, and we have the start of a technical university campus, kind of as an homage to my time in the trades. Coming back to our downtown and seeing all of the problems, we are swiftly going to ignore them, and instead we are going to look at our signature buildings again, and we have this iron press building, plus attractiveness citywide and well-being nearby. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but these signature buildings, they really are kind of like that old Ryko mod because they don't cost anything to be placed down. Now that I'm looking at this close up, it kind of reminds me of a pool hall that I used to frequent when I was young. Man, this pool hall, it was dingy and dank. The pool tables each had dead spots on the cushions that you got to know. We all knew which stools squeaked the loudest, and every now and then I loved slowly settling into the loudest one and seeing Pool Hall Pat's hair stand up on the back of his neck. He introduced me to the regular groups of players on each day of the week, and these guys were the real deal. They had me hop in on games when there was a space open, were always very courteous and loved sharing stories of their own, and on the rare occasion it was warranted, always had my back with other customers. I especially loved Monday nights when 3 maybe middle-aged ladies would come in, tell Pool Hall Pat either hot or cold, meaning they either wanted to drink hot water with lemon or cold water with lemon, and head back to their reserved table at the back of the hall. Pool Hall Pat would leave me to watch the bar while he caught up with them, and you could tell they had grown up in places like this, just like I was doing. Maybe I'll find myself back at a pool hall on regular nights with some pals sipping hot lemon water in a couple of years. There are so many stories I could tell about that place, but maybe another time. For now, pardon the blinding snow for a minute, but I am going to grab this old mill ruins that is like way out here in the map. I'm going to relocate it, bring it through all of our problems and through to our elementary school. I've been decorating a bit while I wait for the snow to pass, and I'm just gonna put it right there. Now I think that looks pretty good, and I'm gonna make use of that trick again. But before we start our next expansion, this is what the game looks like when it's snowing in winter. Now I actually kind of like this quite a bit. I like the snow. Of course, I wish there was snow on rooftops and that sort of thing, but I'm hoping that is just the game not being quite yet finished. But I think for your sakes, let's get through winter and into expanding over by our college. Our little toadstead here is in desperate need of some services, so pardon the glaring colors, but fun fact, it does look like with these telecom towers and the radio mast being just a smaller version of it, the topography of the map seems to impact its area of effect. Watch, this here is like a sharp cliff and this here is a sharp cliff, and as we move it farther away, they seem to be heavily impacted. So we are going to put this down right here and then come back and see how far that reaches. Everyone's happy. Just before we hit our final milestone, we are also going to unlock a fire station and a hospital. The fire station, mind your eyes. I would love to tuck right back in there. I watch the colors of the roads all turn green. This thing has such a huge range. I love the way that looks in there. The full hospital also has a very large range, and we are going to put it right back here beside the road maintenance depot and near the high school. And I think as you zoom out, that is starting to look pretty swell. Maybe one final piece of decoration for our original college. I'm going to go over here, and these castle ruins, I'm just gonna give them the old yoink. Come back to our college, and I think they work very well up here. That's it. That's Big Town, the final milestone for this episode. That means look at all of the things that we get to play with next time. Our next 3 milestones are high density housing, high density commercial, and high density office. Speaking of high-density offices, our final story in ToadieZzz today will be the one of me quitting my office job at the beginning of 2022 and diving into the life of a full-time creator. Really, this is just a cheeky segue into me expressing how much I appreciate you watching these videos, and that I look forward to a future full of goofy stories and over-exaggerated accents. Now, enough about that. Notice how sometimes you'll get corner-style buildings on a street corner? In fact, this building reminds me of a hotel I stayed at once, but rather than another life story, I remember once I tried to earn $1 million weekly in vanilla City Skylines 1 with just hotels. Make sure you've drank some water recently, then don't miss the video on screen to see how that challenge turned out.